Welcome back to Hot Rod Guy Garage, and let me tell you something. This is going to be a no BS video on will it run. Because I can tell you one thing, most of these big channels that do these will it runs and try to drive them home, they've done a lot of prep work beforehand. So stick with me through the intro and see what it actually takes to get a car that's sat in the woods for 44 years to actually run. I've been out here today tinkering with this 70 Torino parts car. You know, the one I made the last video on. So I was real curious if this old motor was any good, so stick with me through the intro and we'll find out together. So at this point, I have been working along on this car most of the day, and waited about 4 hours to get some spark plugs from O'Reilly's because the motor was stuck. I filled the motor all the way up to the top of the carburetor with a mixture of transmission fluid, penetrating oil, WD-40, you know, whatever I can dump down in it. Try to, soak those rings down, hopefully break this motor loose. Now, keep in mind, this thing sat since 1979 or 1980. The tag expired in 80. I really had low hopes that it would even turn over. So what I done, I took all the plugs out of it, which was a horrible experience. All of them were rusted into the heads. Had to use a long 1/2-inch ratchet and a breaker bar to get them all out every inch of the way. And I filled the cylinders up, didn't get any. They had the valves closed with some PB Blaster, and I let it sit here a few hours. Come out here, stuck a battery in it, jumped solenoid, and it started to move. Not easily, but it started to move, and then it got to a point it just stopped. So I took the ratchet, put it on a crank bolt, backed the motor up, and just kept spinning it over. And at that point, I became covered from head to toe, which is why I don't have my hat on, covered from head to toe in the concoction that, that I'd made. So the motor spins over freely. So I cleaned the points. They were corroded up horribly bad. I had to take the carburetor off and free the throttle shaft up in it. Surprisingly, I filled it up with carburetor cleaner, and the pump in the carburetor works. So what I'm doing now, I'm working on getting the spark plugs in it. So I'll bring y'all along for that ride on the other side. But that's pretty much where I'm at. I did clean some of the mold off the car this morning just to try to kind of evaluate what's actually here a little better. I'll flip it around and I'll show you that real quick, and then we'll throw these plugs in here. So it didn't wash none of the rust away or any of the rust holes, but the car brightened up quite a bit. You can see how good the glass and the trim is on it now. So, it wasn't going to hurt nothing, and it still got some moldy stuff and some stuff on it. I didn't put a whole lot of effort in it. I just wanted to get a base to see what we had. And I also cleaned up the master cylinder on it and tried to get the brakes up, but we keep popping metal brake lines as fast as I could get them, so I plugged the rear brakes off right there and plugged the driver's side front off, and I think I got brakes on the passenger side front, but I'm not sure. So I figured if I was going to get it running, and if it does run, and let's just say the transmission goes in gear, which is another question that we don't know, then I might try to move it around, which I would like to have some kind of resemblance of brakes, before I pull a car down in gear. It's an automatic. If it's a straight shift, it would be a big deal. But it being automatic, yeah, I really hope I got some brakes on one wheel. So I'm going to flip back around. Let's get these plugs thrown in there. Daisy's laying down here on the floor. She's sleeping. And she's just sleeping away. Just kind of a little update on this. I got most of the stuff off of it. So The whole point of this is to spend as little money as possible. I just want to make sure that we got a good motor. It would make this a whole lot better buy than if the motor's junk. At least I might be able to get some of my money back out of it, if not most of it. So I'm gonna get these plugs to 30 thousandths, which is just a touch tighter than 35 that they're spec for, but I'm using this Taiwan gapper that I've never really liked from get-go. It's about 5 thousandths off from my filler gauges. I'm just going to gap these plugs. And just get them close. And as rusty as the plug threads and stuff were in this motor, I'm going to put some anti-seize on every one of them. So it's real hard for me to video this working stuff. You pretty much got one of two views. What I'm doing or this mess. So sometimes I question my life choices, but I figured I needed to know if this thing was even worth the money I got in it. It's one of those cases where the person that had this car thought it was worth a big bunch of money. After some deliberation with them, I pretty much got a better deal than what it was advertised for, but still nowhere a deal that a car in this condition should be in. Because we can say that a car like this is worth a big bunch of money, and we can put it on the marketplace and price it that way, but in the end, it's just a rusty old car that don't run, which is fine. I've dealt with a bunch of them over the years like that. But if this old motor's good, it might be worth saving for another project. In the future. The cool thing about this old car is it's not really been touched a whole lot under here. Had a couple of hoses put on it. It's got the original Motorcraft distributor cap and rotor button in it. Motorcraft points. Well, I'm pretty sure there's original plug wires on it, which are these Motorcraft Sipcoms, or Sipcon. They're the black wire with the orange boots. That's generally what you see on these from the factory. But these plug threads on this car are horrible feeling. That's not helped by this 200-year-old snap-on ratchet that's been rebuilt 75 times. But it's the only intermediate flex head ratchet that I have. I've got a long flex head, get a short flex head, but this is the only one that's kind of good for doing spark plugs if it wouldn't randomly just break. So if y'all think this old car run, comment down below and let me know what you think. I know it spins over now, so unless it's got a bunch of valves stuck open, it should run. But once again, don't mean it will. So I hooked our battery back up over here. We don't have no fire stuff going on. Let me take these original keys. Let's see if it'll turn over with the switch. And no, it won't. Well, let me get my screwdriver and we'll see if this thing will start. So I guess we might jump it off the solenoid. And we got compression, I guess. So let's spray a little go-go juice down in the carburetor. It's trying. So it sounds like it's trying. Which it's still got a buttload of oil in it, so probably gonna have to get a jumper box and put on it because it's spinning over pretty slow, probably where I spun over, and we may need to run us a jumper wire to the hot side of the coil, but we should have some action. So I got me a little piece of wire. I'm just gonna twist it around the hot side of the coil here, push the factory connector back on like that, so I can run this safely over here to see if we can power this coil and see if we got some action. This old coil may be dead on it, but we'll just have to see. Let me get a jumper box. Yeah, I guess we might check for spark. So I thought, I cleaned points off, so we should have spark. So let me just get it here where we're narked it off something, like down here. Wish the old starter's not sounding too awful hot on it, but didn't see no sparks coming out of there, which it may not jump that big old gap. So let me find my tester plug. Well, we have no spark, and what you should see when you get your coil jumped and motor spinning over, you should be see a little spark come off these points right here. I don't have nothing. Even though I cleaned contacts on them, cleaned in the side distributor, I still don't have no spark. And I wonder if this corroded up wire for neither side of the coil is the reason. So let me clean this up. And we'll try it back on this other coil, which I know is good, and we'll see if that fixes it. So with the points ignition system, there can't be a whole lot wrong. It's either the coil, the points, condenser, or the power tube, or the feed wire that triggers the power. So still working on it. Got that connector cleaned. I cleaned points again. It may be a thing where the condenser's bad. I'd have to dig around here see if I had another set of points. I should have, and I can always throw a set in it. But that might be tomorrow. Well, I really didn't expect this to be a multiple day video, but you know, end up cooking the battery cable and solenoid off of it. So I charged the battery overnight, so battery should be good and hot now. And I'm out here at the car. I've not done nothing since yesterday. But stick a solenoid on it and another battery cable. But we got fire. Just could get it spin over fast enough to actually hit. And you know, probably gonna have to put a starter on it, which I really don't want to have to put a starter on this thing. It is mega rusty. It is very flexy when you jack it up. Daisy down here on the floor. She's just hanging out. So hopefully our battery's good and charged up. It's been charging since we got here first thing this morning. I've been down there working on pulling this Grand National down. So take a little break since I'm back up here. We'll throw this in there. We'll see if we can get this big old turd fired off. Well, we're mostly prepared, so make sure this thing ain't locked up overnight. We get starter action, believe that or not. Kind of starter action, not really. Well, it's trying to fire. It's about spinning over fast enough to do it. So let me get my jumper box out, see if that will speed these things up a little bit. And that old starter just is not going to do it. It's pulling way too many amps to the point it's smoking the battery cables and running the battery dead within like the first few revolutions. So we'll dig around here at the shop, see if we can find a starter here in a little while. Maybe we can throw one on it this afternoon after I can get some of this work done here that I need to knock out. So will it run? Who knows? Sure not looking good at this point. At least it's trying to hit. It's just not spinning over fast enough. unfortunately, you got to get the spin over fast enough where it actually draw air and stuff into the cylinders. Yeah. Well, I got to a stopping point with the Grand National hay gasket job I've been working on. So I went out here and grabbed the starter. Let's see if we can throw this thing on this thing and see if it'll spin over. Because when it starts spinning over strong, it tries to hit and tries to light off, but then the starter slows down and it starts making kind of screechy sounds from it down there. So I don't think there's any way around it than just to put one on it, as much as I hate to. So let's get to it. So hopefully this starter's good. I can get up here under the car. We can get this thing changed, but you can look at some of the structural ties together in this car, and the subframe over here is pushed up against the floorboard. A lot of this don't look too awful horrible under here, but she's pretty flexy up underneath. So I gotta get that big old rusty dude right there off, and hopefully this will get us back to going. So the only good thing about this old car, it's got a case fill C4 in it. I know 71 went to pan fill, the big bell housing. So this one's got the small bell housing and the case fill. So that's a positive thing. So luckily the bottom bolt come loose. So let's see if we can get the top one loose. I pulled the exhaust off of it with my hands, so it's a pretty not great situation under here. So especially for an old car like this, my gear wrench is going to be too big to get on that one. So looks like it's got the original starter on it. So, and this thing is nuclear hot, if you can imagine. So, yeah, of course, nothing wants to come loose on a rust bucket like this thing. I still think this old car would be kind of cool to build kind of a NASCAR tribute car out of. Just don't know about how viable that actually is, because it don't really have a good body, but you can definitely skin the rust holes. So it would look okay. So let me get this starter changed out, and guys, and then I'll be back. And all right, it's a little while later. I got that starter on there, and she's trying to start when I spin her over. So the problem is it's trying to control everything all at once, because everything I got now is on naked wires. Oh, come on, baby. She's trying. All right, I filled me a spray bottle up with gas and filled the float bowl up in the carburetor. Now just trying to start. she's gonna run. Oh, you gonna run, ain't you? You wanna run? We're gonna let you run. Just don't kill me. Well, we got a few little burbles out of it. Problem is, I don't think I've got a good battery cable here that, is not getting smoking hot when it's turned over. And to be honest, that starter don't sound all that hot either. Could be just bad connection stuff going on. Could be, the cable I grabbed was just a absolutely pile of junk, which is more than likely. Starter could be junk that I put on it. That's possible too. But I think it's going to run, so I'll be back here in a few. I want to see if I can't find a battery cable laying around here to stick on it, and maybe I can address that. And apparently that high torch starter that you use when I put on is bad too. Fighting with things like these crappy parts store battery cables, starters with high amp draws, bad wiring under the hood of this thing. It's a fight just to get it to, run, to turn over fast enough to fire. And in those times that it does, it seems like it's going to run. I literally run it for about 20 seconds off camera. I come back here and get my phone, fill the carburetor bowl back up, and, that won't start again. So, the mini starter down there was smoking and smelled like burnt nasty, burnt electrical. I went through that with that 306 cylinder starter, and starter was bad. So I doused it down with the water hose, try to cool it off. I'm going to sit there a little while. I'm going to eat something for lunch, and then let this battery charge, and we'll come back and we'll see if we can get this thing to fire off. At least for another 10 or 15 second little run. It sounded all right the first time, so that at least let it get some oil up in the top end of it, and let me pull the dipstick out and check the oil again, make sure everything's okay. And hopefully everything will cool off and it'll start back up at least one more time. I doubt I'm going to be able to run this thing long enough to see if it'll take gear or has any kind of brakes after I fought with those. For people concerned about it pumping old fuel up in it, the fuel line's rotted off of it. So there's absolutely no way it can suck fuel. I don't want to run a line into a can to try to feed it that way, because the carburetor's kind of sketchy too. I took it off, had to free up the throttle blades, accelerator pump shot on it. It's not worth building a carburetor for at this point. If the car was going to be a project and it was worthy of structural repairs, I might dig a little deeper into it. We're just going to see if we can get it to run at least a few seconds at a time. Junky old starter. Well, it runs. It ran again. Then the starter got hot again. The problem is you end up kind of flooding it when you fill up float bowls through vent tubes on a 2100 motor car carburetor. And you got to spin over a little bit to get the firewall throttle open. Well, yeah, the starter don't want to spin it over, so that's where we're at. Yes, it will run. It don't sound too bad. It's got oil pressure because I can hear oil running back down through the heads once it starts and cuts off. So the motor is viably okay. Let's just say that it's viably okay. Until I can get a starter stuck on it that I can spin over more than a few seconds at a time. That's probably about all I'm gonna be able to run it. So that said, guys, it does run. This car probably won't never drive again, unfortunately, because I can't keep it running long enough to, see if transmission lead can go in gear. Which I'm sure it probably will, as long as it's got fluid in it. It is a C4, and I was told it drove where it was parked, so I have no reason to doubt that. I think the car just sat way too long where it sat, and this is what we're stuck with. So if you like these kind of videos, make sure you hit that like button. Comment down below if there's anything you want to comment about. And most importantly, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button because it does help the channel grow. And if you are a subscriber, I greatly appreciate you guys. So until the next video, guys, which will probably be on the 65 Mustang, because I can't waste all my shop time messing around with that right now. I'll see you at the next video. Thanks for watching.